she's very much like, get the goals from your employees. And if you can help them achieve their goals, then they're going to help you achieve yours. And so that's when your team becomes aligned. And so I do write down my goals, but more importantly, I'm watching my team's goals and trying to help them achieve that.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Boardroom Buzz, here with the Blue Collar Twins, Jeremy and Jason Julio. Today we got a very special guest who didn't just build a business, he carved out his own lane and became one of the best in the country at doing it. He's known as the Pond Digger, but there's a lot more behind that name. So Eric Triplett, also known as the Pond Digger. Dude, I'm super excited to have you on this show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
So yesterday, you and I got a quick conversation on a phone, and I normally don't like having conversations too much because, I want to be authentic on this podcast and really learn about you here and now. But you brought up a situation that happened back in 2015, and, I really started thinking about what you were talking about. And, I think about myself personally that I go to the doctor all the time, do my annual blood work. What will happen if I get this call from the doctor and say that you got the big C? And back in 2015, that happened to you.
Yeah,
How
man.
about that?
So I'm a little bit opposite of you. I don't go to the doctor, unless I'm bleeding bad and need stitches. So I had some throat issues. Like I was having trouble swallowing. My gag reflex was off, like when you brush your tongue. That was it. When I'd be brushing my tongue, I would be like, oh God, what was that? And I just remember being a stressful time, lots of work. My business was moving and scaling. And I remember being on a stressful job and I was coming home and I just felt like phlegmy and kind of like a cough. And I remember being on the freeway and I looked in the rearview mirror and I just opened my mouth and looked in my mouth. And my left tonsil was just huge. It was just a giant left tonsil and the right tonsil looked fine. And I was like, oh, that can't be healthy. And I just knew like something was wrong. And I remember seeing my wife an hour later and showing it to her. And it was the turning point.
At that moment, what do you got going on in your life? You have a successful business. What do you got going on?
We had just recovered from like 2008, like business was starting to move again. And so I almost lost half my business in 2008. We broke $1 million in 2003 and then we were rolling and then boom, market crash. And we were down for a few years, but then I was like in this recovery. And, we had jobs going out of town. We were doing service and repair. We were doing maintenance. We had retail, wholesale. We just launched some manufacturing.
So you got a lot going on. You got a lot going on. You look in at your mouth, you see this big tonsil and like, I got to go to the doctor. So you go to the doctor and what happens?
So crazy. So one of the doctors was one of my clients. We doing a pond and an aquarium for her. So I just called her. I said, I need an appointment with you as soon as possible. And she's like, you need to, okay, let me back up. I first went to urgent care because I thought maybe I'm just got a cold and maybe I just need some antibiotics. But so I went to urgent care and I remember the doctor, he finally comes in, sits down and I see him look in my throat. And then he like looked at my eyes and then looked at my throat and then sat back and I knew something was wrong. I could tell by like you can't play poker with me, bro. If your eyes are off just a little bit, I'll get you, He lost his poker face when he looked in my eyes. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And I was like, can I get antibiotics? He's like, it might be a little more than that. It's not common for one side to be that way and not the other. And I was like, he's like, I'll start you on some antibiotics. He was trying to like calm me down. Like, I'll get you on some antibiotics and let's see how that goes. But you should go see your, primary. And that's, I knew something was wrong. And I went straight to the doctor who was my client. And she was like, we got a problem.
And so what's your mindset at this point?
Dude, I mean, it's crazy because I literally thought I was going to die. So I was like, get my things in order. Cause I recently had 2 of my friends die of the same, of throat cancer.
So was it diagnosed as throat cancer?
It was HPV. Yeah. Human papillomavirus.
Gotcha.
It attacked the tonsil. So, but one of my clients had died from throat cancer, HPV, and one of my vendors died from throat cancer, HPV, but his was like esophageal, so it was down deep. So, I really thought like I had just had to get my shit in order and set my wife up with a new place, a ranch or whatever. I mean, I have, life insurance all plotted out and everything because when I started, doing well in business and took all that risk, I had, smart enough to set my wife up in case something happened to me. So I knew she'd be okay like that, but I kind of wanted to get her to where we agreed we were going to get her,
Dude,
before.
there's so much to think about. I can't even imagine, right? Like, you get hit with this diagnosis of throat cancer. You got a business, you're digging ponds at this point, 2015. You had some success prior in 2003. You hit $1 million. You're back and forth. What's going through your head? So is it, all right, now I'm going to stop everything. I'm going to focus on my family. The business is going to shut down. I'm going to take care of myself. Does the business continue to operate? Walk me through some of that.
These are all good questions. And before I go there with you real quick, my personality type, I'm an 8 personality on the Enneagram, if you guys get into that stuff. But I don't like to show vulnerability. Like if I'm hurting, I'm limping, I'm trying not to show you that I'm limping. It's just vulnerability is like a thing for me. It's just in my DNA, right? And so I was like, how do I go about this, right? So luckily, because of 2008, I diversified my business incredibly. Like we went really wide to be able to capture a lot in business in my trade. And so luckily I had landed in a spot where we could still make a living and run my household. But I shut down my construction division of my business because that's the most stressful part, getting the guys and the cars and the signing the contracts, and does someone want to sue you because of copyright infringement and like all these different things. So I shut that part of my business down. The cool thing I did was I had guys that were with me for like 15 years at the time, and I set them up with their own contractor's license. So like, I'm going to set you up so you've taken care of me. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you on my way out. So I started doing those kind of things because I knew it was possibly, it was stage 4, by the way. It was big. It wasn't like a little thing. Yeah. So I set up all my team, and then we went straight to retail and warranty work. I kept a couple guys. We did all that kind of stuff. So I took care of my customers, and about 2.5 years and 7 surgeries later, like my doctor says, you're good. Let's go back to work. I mean, he said, go back to taking over the world, so that was a big deal.
That is a big deal, man. 7 surgeries later.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. How many years did it take to kind of get through?
So it was about 3.5 before I was like back to, he said, you should probably, you're looking really good. You should still come back every 3 months, and we should keep checking on you, but things have been looking really good. So like the first 2 years was really tough. And then the other 1.5 years was just like recovery. But it's scary because, I was going to the doctor so much. And every time you get there, you're like, oh, there's more polyps. We got to go in and do this. And it's going to be another surgery. I'm like, fuck, So like I didn't, going to the doctor was always like, what are you going to find now? So it was hard for me to open up and go like, okay, I'm going to go back into construction and I'm going to get after it again. So there was that real tug of war to make that happen.
Well, congratulations on your battle with cancer and surviving. It's a tremendous story. Tell everybody, you're new to the show and our audience. Let's kind of backtrack a little bit about Eric Triplett being the pond digger and what that means in that industry. I mean, you're very well known in the industry. I want everyone to know what that means here, where you're operating out of, and what you actually do.
Okay, cool. What's unique about the pond digger and me personally, and the way I'm building the company is I'm a fish fanatic, like aquatic, turtles and reptiles and rare tropical fish and Japanese koi and things of that nature. So for me, I make 57 this year, but when I was 19, like fish took over my life. And so you could call me a fish expert. Like to most, I probably am, but I still want to learn so much more, right? I don't think I'm an expert, but that put me into building ponds because I was doing all these aquariums, and like I figured out one day, like building a pond, I could put more fish and expand my knowledge, right? And so I just got into building aquariums and building ponds. That was part of my business. And then I was actually exotic waterscapes in the beginning. Then in 2003, I bought my dream truck. I bought this lifted Amarillo package, F-250, big old wheels, jacked truck. It was awesome. And I remember pulling it up the first time, and we were staring at it. And one of my dearest friends who sold me that first aquarium, he's the one that made me like flip the switch. So we were looking at it, and we were just having a good time and like just in awe of the truck. And he's like, bro, this is like the grave digger, but you're the pond digger. And like the name stuck immediately. I just got goosebumps when I said that because he just thought that up. It's the same guy who got me into fish, right? Many, many years later. And I went out and got the Gravedigger font to say the Pond Digger on my truck. And I drove it like that for almost 20 years. So you could see the Gravedigger font, the Pond Digger, and it was just like a fun brand.
The Gravedigger was that one of the monster trucks, right? Is that a
Yeah,
monster?
yeah, monster truck.
Right, yeah, awesome.
It would do those wheelies and jump cars and smash him and drive over everything. Yeah,
he's great.
yeah.
We saw that with my kid a couple summers ago over here. So you're building aquariums, and then you branched out to ponds. Yeah. What kind of market is that? Like, is it a lucrative business where you're growing and scaling?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I've been stuck between 1 and 3 million 3 different times. In early 2000s, and then 2008 shut me down, and then I got back to it again, and then 2015 and the big C shut me down, and then back at it again. 2020, we're back in the game, hit 1 million again. Well, 2 million, I make 2.5 million in that range, but the 3 million mark is my spot. But I got friends that are in the game that do 20 million. I got friends in the game doing 8, 10 million in this industry, just ponds and aquariums specifically.
And is the only thing differentiating you guys or just like the amount of jobs or the size of the jobs that you guys are doing? Is there anything keeping you guys from doing that, those larger numbers?
Probably just me, not knowing what you need to know, because most businesses, and I don't quote the statistic perfectly, but 97% of businesses fail within a decade, construction, right? Or all businesses really. And then there's a tremendous number in the 90s that never break 1 million. And I thought that was staggering to me. But the more I talk to people, like they're like, oh, I hit 500 and I quit. Oh, I hit 750, or like, I'm stuck at 8. I don't know how to get by. I've been here for years, right? So for me to hit those numbers a couple times, I'm proud of that, but I feel like I'm in purgatory getting to 3. And so I'm studying really hard and I'm working really hard to get that breakthrough. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely available for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm the holdback.
What is your market? Is it like, because you're on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, West Coast, Southern California.
Southern California. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think Eric's gone a lot of places, a lot of different places to do these ponds. You'll travel outside of California to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we mainly stick here, but like if my client moves to Tennessee, and I built him a pond in Del Mar, he's like, I'm flying you to Del Mar. I'm flying you to Tennessee to build me a pond. So that's kind of how that happens. Or we were just in New Jersey. One of my buddies was working for the Vaynerchuk family. And so he called me up and I'm like, hey, let me come and work with you out there. So I'll fly to Jersey, work for the Vaynerchuk family. So
we're at Flying Fish, one of his restaurants, and and he was there for, was it a birthday or something? Yeah, and really cool guy, and the fact that you get to work for him is amazing. It's so cool. Yeah. So I need to know, like, a pond. How big are we talking here?
So the biggest one I've done is about 1 acre. I mean, it's a good sized pond for California. But the average size pond is like 3,000 to 5,000, but 5,000 gallons. So it's like maybe a 20-foot diameter and 3 or 4 foot deep. But in my area, we're a little bit rural, so I have quite a few ponds that are like 1/2 acre or 1/4 acre or 1/3 of an acre.
What's the most, I don't want to say impressive, but your most proud pond, the pond that you've built that you're most proud of?
They're all their own little unique masterpiece, I mean, the guy I work for in Del Mar, I'm probably most proud of that one. I really am, because a very wealthy guy, he did something in the automotive industry for shocks and stuff for like rough road or rough country, I think it's called. Rough country, I work for him. And he has multiple places all over, the country. And he buys his place in Del Mar and just guts the house. Nothing is the same except the walls. And so he had dozens of contractors there. And I was hired as a subcontractor, and I was like, this is what I want to build. I drew it all out. It's going to be this much money. And at the end of the job, I only talked to him twice, because I was the subcontractor. So I was talking to the GC, I was talking to the designer. Like when the meetings would come around, there'd be like 8 people in the meeting. And at the end of the job, he looked at me, he said, you're the only contractor that didn't give me a change order. You're the only contractor that did it, what you said you would do when you said you were going to do it. And I want you to come and build for me in Tennessee. So I'm very proud of that pond. And it's beautiful. It's like the pictures are stunning.
Do you prefer to do a large aquarium or a pond?
I don't do a ton of aquariums anymore. I'm still in the aquarium game, but ponds for sure. That's your
jam?
Yeah, that's my jam.
So with ponds, we come from the pest control industry. We got this business. We're in the business of picking up dog shit.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's all reoccurring based. Well, other than like, building a solid reputation and relationship with an owner, and maybe, doing another pond down the road, is there any type of reoccurring base model within what you're doing right now?
Yeah, for sure. So we do maintenance. We do recurring maintenance on them. We have a lot of clients that don't want to touch the pond at all. They just want to go out there and drink a beer at the end of the night, see the beautiful fish. Or I have clients that are wealthy enough to where they want to kind of fool around with it, but they're busy doing other bigger important things.
Well, yeah, and also you're dealing with how much money in fish.
Yeah.
Are you risking accidentally killing them if you're not doing the right thing?
Yeah. So there's currently we're doing like maybe $250,000 in just monthly maintenance. I think I can go way up on that, but we're probably doing 500,000 in like seasonal maintenance, and then there's, a few $100,000 just like service and repair, pump, need new light system, and then intermixing construction in between all that. So it's pretty dynamic.
So it's close to $1 million right there, and just like a recurring revenue. That's all. That's great.
Yeah. Like I said, we're stuck around 2.2, 1.8. We're kind of like bouncing in there.
I want to jump back to the 97% of contractors actually fail. What did you do to not fail?
Dude, I don't know if it's dumb luck, or persistence. Like I just show up, dude. I remember.
It's not luck, that's for sure.
Okay.
As much as you want to say it's luck, we've said that before also, and it's not luck.
You're probably right. I think it's a drive thing. So I think you guys can appreciate this. In 2008, my lease just ran out. To backpedal a little bit, I started the business in my house, and we got kicked out of the house by the city because I was just cranking. We were doing a lot of business. I had an acre and a half in Redlands, a really nice home community. Acre and a half, I was just going to run my business there. But the neighbors, didn't like rock being dumped and, guys at 6 a.m., bullshitting about their weekend. And so the city kicks me out of my house. I rent a building, and I had a 5-year lease. And we did really well there. It wasn't perfect for me, but the lease was running out right in 2008, like right at the turn of everything taking a shit. And everyone I know, my mentors, my friends, my family, they're like, just pull the business back to the house. We'll be quiet. We'll be lean. We'll get through this. And I went out and I did a 10-year lease on a bigger building with bigger rent in a more noticeable location because I wasn't going to retreat. Like the fucking American flag on your head, it's going the way where you do not retreat. And I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody. I'm unemployable. I have to make this work.
Love that. What makes you say you're unemployable?
Because I just have bigger visions like that. And I won't tolerate bullshit. I won't tolerate thinking small. And there's not a company big enough around here to make that work for me. Mm-hmm. I've had headhunters come to me and go like, let us do all the hard shit. They're doing 20 million a year. Let us do all the hard shit. You go out and run the cruise. But yeah, that's not in it for me, I don't think.
Yeah. So how did you learn business?
School of Hard Knocks, like really. I mean, but I'll tell you, the water garden industry has been really cool. The waterscape industry. I've been going to conventions since the beginning. I went to pond college, and I went to water garden expos and the pond trade shows, and then I'd go to landscape conferences and like anything that you could learn about, running that spot. And so a lot of it, I think my marketing and my brand awareness, that kept me going, right? It was just like I'd hit that wall, and replicating myself has been my problem. That's where I'm at right now. I'm just 100% into replicating myself. How do I do that? How do I teach what I do to people? And so
you do a lot, right? So you own Pond Diggers, right? You got this nice, awesome business that's growing for you. That's, bringing in money, and you're operating on a regular basis. But then you also wear another hat too. Was it the Pod House, or you do podcasting yourself also, right?
Yeah.
And then is there something else you're doing on top of that, or so you have those two things that you're working in?
So in 2008, I went wholesale. Well, I started wholesale early because I was doing so much pond stuff that I could sell to my contractor buddies. Like I'd bring in a whole truck and trailer full of stuff, and my pond buddies would need a pump, and I'd be like, cool. And I'd make a few dollars on them. So I was wholesaling early. And then there was a time when we were doing 100 ponds a year, installing them. In 2003. So like 3 consecutive years, 100 ponds a year. And so before that, I was doing 50 and 40 and 30. So now all of a sudden I got almost 500 ponds in the ground around me And now pumps are breaking and lights need to be redone and people want fish food and they want little water treatments. And so suddenly the customers are calling me. So like, okay, cool. I got a retail business. So, but in 2008, I went hard into service and repair, routine maintenance. And then, so that's a big division. And we went into manufacturing as well. So I have I have 2 patents on some pond products that we build and fabricate. And then so
are they the tubs? What is it that you're manufacturing?
we do waterfalls, the waterfall filters, and the skimmers. The skimmers where I have my patent.
I think I saw that. Was that with the rock over top of it?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a special type of filter? Is it?
Yeah. It's called the Helix Pond Skimmer. And so that's my patent. I had a dream one night and that was what came from the dream. I woke up and started drawing and went to town. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's great. And then you'll wholesale that to other pond installers
and distributors.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how far along that process are you? Is it already like being manufactured and being pushed out there?
Yeah. I released that in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. It took about 7 years to get the patent go through. It was a long process.
Mm-hmm. So we were introduced to you by Mike Garvey. Mike Garvey has this landscaping company and pest control company here in Ocean County, and he introduced us to you. I guess, do you guys podcast together? I know you mentioned that you guys do that you show up to a lot of conferences, and I'm assuming originally that was so you could, learn about industries, meet other people, and that grow, build. But now you're also getting your voice out there as well. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that also.
So the weird thing about me is, I don't know if you ever remember like those little chat rooms. Like I made this thing called Pond Talk on my website, like, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I was just documenting like information.
Was it like a forum?
Yeah, forum. Yeah.
Okay.
So I made a forum on my website and I would just document how to do things. And then suddenly there's people on there talking, hey, I got this problem. What do I do? And I'm like, oh shit, there's a person in the room with me, So like that was the beginning of it. But then I went into YouTube and I started documenting my journey. Then I started the podcast. That was an interesting story twist. But when I started my podcast, I was just documenting the journey. So I started podcasting 7 years ago and I would just do like, hey, let's do this topic. And then I would use it as an asset or a tool to share with a client that might have a problem. So I'd be like, hey, I have this YouTube video, or if you listen to podcasts, you can listen to this while you're working on the pond. And
what was that podcast called?
The Pond Digger Podcast.
Oh, the Pond Digger Podcast. Is that still out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a rebrand this January. Now I call it the Deep End with Eric Triplett. So because I'm very contractor centric now, so I like help contractors do sales communications and things of that nature. And that's how I met Garvey. I was speaking at an event and he was there and then we just hit it off and, having a good time.
Awesome. The Deep End is your podcast. The pod house, is that something different? What is that?
Yeah. So this is a crazy story.
I'm trying to connect all the dots.
Yeah. See, it's not luck. It's just, I'm just aggressive out there doing all kinds of stuff, getting in people's face. So Pod House was like, in a nutshell, I was at an event and my hotel, I hadn't booked it long enough. And so I was going to buy another room, but Garvey, I'd already met him and his team. They had an Airbnb and I had to leave for the airport like 4 a.m. and we were up till late all the time. And I'm like, hey, if we're going to stay out late tonight, let me just crash on your couch or I'm going to spend $400 here in Kentucky for 4 hours of sleep. He's like, yeah, come on over. And then we just stayed up and podcasted all night long. And then when we woke up in the morning, 3-4 hours later, he's like, we should do this when we go to Anaheim, we should do this in Vegas. When we go to that, what about Tennessee? Like we'll get a house and we'll call it Pod House. And I was like, let's go. So he was really the visionary behind the house. But what we've done together now is we've turned it into like a content creation war room. So all the podcasters descend into a house that we invite. And instead of like everyone going to dinner and like calling it and going to to their hotel rooms, now we all go back, studios, lights, podcasting, and then debriefings. Like we go to this event and like you write all these notes and you're thinking about it and then you go to bed. Like we go home and debrief immediately. Like what happened today? This is what's going on. And then, so we're documenting that. So that's kind of where that's all coming from.
That's really cool. I love that. But your brain must be exhausted by that time though. I mean, these events are like, they're long, right? You're networking, you're talking, you're listening, you're learning. And then you gotta go back and you're up all night debriefing. It's a great concept. And it's something I think I would like to possibly implement into maybe the pest control industry, into these different conferences that we're going to? Yeah, so right now I was going to say that they just started a group of operators are coming together. They're actually getting 2 Airbnbs, big like mansion Airbnbs, and they're inviting other operators, and they're all coming together. And their name is the Real Pest World, a spinoff of
the Real World.
The Real World.
Is it Jonas? Is it Jonas Olson?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Jonas.
Exactly. Yeah, Jonas is a good guy.
Yeah.
He was just on our podcast.
So listen, this is a fun twist. This is where it all ties together. So some guys in the landscape industry tried to do something called the Hype House, and it was around 2020. And like someone got sick, and then someone was unhappy with the room. And it was just like kind of a mess up thing. They had a great time year 1, year 2, it fell apart. So the same time we were dreaming up Pod House, I had Jonas Olson on my podcast and Libby Dean. Those 2 were on my podcast in my hotel room. You know, they're sitting on like my bed, you know, and it was a real, don't get me wrong, this is a little creepy, but it was a badass hotel room. Very, very nice. It had a little thing and, you know, had chairs, but Jonas told me about what he was doing. And then I'd called my friends that had done it before. And I was like, man, this could be cool. And that's when Garvey and I were talking about it that night. And he's like, we click really well. I think we can control everybody. And I'm like, I'm down. And so we've done 2 different Pod House locations, and it's been amazing. So much fun.
Specifically in your industry, like not necessarily the landscape.
Yeah. Have you
guys
gone with Jonas yet? Have you been to one of his?
We haven't been. We were last year when we were in, where was it? Denver? Orlando. They had it there, and we had meetings, and you know, there's some conflicting times and stuff. We weren't able to make it over there. We'll make it this year. This year it's in Dallas. We hear great things about it. There's a lot of really good people who are involved in it. But I like the podcasting piece. I see what you guys are doing, or I see what Mike's doing, like walking around.
Oh, they have a thing called Podcast Row, right?
Yeah, Pod Row.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with they're tied together, right?
Pod Row is one of our other dear friends. And so he's got his thing. Pod House is our thing. But they are like, we had Naylor at our place, at our Pod House in Las Vegas. We're like, Naylor, come hang out with us. So, I mean, we go to his Pod Row. He comes to the Pod House. And so they're separate, but the same, if that makes sense.
It's got to be a big house. I mean, you got all the podcasters, and then you also have all the operators coming in as well.
Yeah.
Like the contractors. Yeah.
Well, we haven't done that yet. So we'll get like, I don't know. I didn't know that square footage of the house, but we had 7 bedrooms, a back casita, a nice big backyard, swimming pool, like things to do. But what we don't want to do, Mike and I have worked really hard, is it's not a party house, you know. Everyone signs NDAs. I don't know how Jonas does his, but you know, like if you're going to be at our studio, right? You'd sign an NDA that just says you're not going to just bring anyone here. You're not going to go, hey, we're staying over at 1237 Main Street. You should come and hang out. Like, it's just like, we're here to work. We're going to have a really good time, but we are going to produce because we want sponsors to put on and support the studios, and we want to support us and them.
Yeah, this is given operators a voice outside of just these big conferences, right? And I think it's going to make everything better, and everyone's going to benefit from these types of things a lot more as years go on, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah. It's a deep one.
Yeah, and that the fact that you know Jonas, that's cool. So he interviewed us a week ago. That podcast didn't go live yet, but we'll see how that came out. Hopefully, there's some little bits of good nuggets there for our listeners.
He knows how to ask good questions. Jonas is he's a good interviewer. Yeah, he does.
So what's next? Are you like a guy who writes goals down, short term, long term?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you taking this business?
So I would like to do 12 million in the next 10 years, maybe 5 years. If I can do it in 5 years. And so my goal is set on that. So yes, I write down my goals. I'm working with Grant Cardone and Cardone Ventures, Brandon Dawson, Natalie Dawson, to help me get the breakthrough, right? And so what I've learned from them, especially Natalie, is I got her book right here, you know. So Natalie, she's very much like, get the goals from your employees. And if you can help them achieve their goals, then they're going to help you achieve yours. It's really profound for me to think about it that way. And so, yeah, I meet with my whole team to find out what their goals are. And then I'm helping them get those goals. And they know that I'm trying to attack theirs because they're going to attack mine every day. So I got 13 or 14 people helping me build my dream every day, but they know I'm trying to help their dreams as well. And so that's when your team becomes aligned. And so, yeah, I do write down my goals, but more importantly, I'm watching my team's goals and trying to help them achieve that.
Great. We talked a little bit yesterday about, we were talking about the podcast and your teachers back in the day. What did they tell you?
Right. Yeah, this is funny. So when I was 17, I graduated early. I graduated at 17. I took this aptitude test from one of the counselors. They're like, hey, just take this test and we'll tell you what you're going to be when you grow up. And I'm like, okay. So I do this test and they're like, hey, you're going to be a teacher when you grow up. I'm like, you guys are idiots. I don't even like school. There's no way I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up. And but I didn't put it together. But my YouTube channel, I have millions of views on my YouTube channel. That entire YouTube channel is built on lessons to help people with their ponds. My entire podcast is like helping people with their ponds, helping contractors become better. My coaching group where I train contractors, sales communications. I'm teaching all day long every day. And so I'm the idiot. I thought they were the idiot. They nailed it. They're 100% right.
You're educating, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Back to your goal, looking outside in, I would think a big part of that is like sales and marketing. What's your strategy for that?
So I think my dumb luck, and I know we're not talking luck's questionable here, but my name is good. I got great brand equity. So now it's like I am fixing the systems behind, like fixing my teams, duplicating myself. Then I can ramp up sales and marketing, if that makes sense. So sales have always been pretty easy. I can pick up the phone. I got 1,000 customers in my database. We got email marketing. We do teaching events where the public comes in. I teach them how to build the pond. They buy the shit from me. They go home and build it. They run into trouble. They call me back. So I think the marketing aspect, I'm kind of like on pause. And I feel nervous right now, actually, because I'm like, I don't want the calls to stop coming in, but I'm working so hard on the replication part, not getting to the calls fast enough. So I'm like, the systems and the replication is my big hurdle right now.
What are some of the systems, like where's the bottleneck at? Where do you feel like it needs improvement within the operation?
It's easy for me to say, this is very niche, the fish, and you got to keep them alive. And if you're not a fish expert, you're going to screw it up. But it's mostly me, not teaching my team well enough. Here I'm on YouTube teaching the world how to do stuff, but I haven't taught stuff. And what I've learned recently from Dan Martell is training those employees how to solve their own problems instead of just solving them for them. It's faster just to give them the answer, to show them the right way or knock them out of the way and do it yourself, right? But you're never going to get farther without, you can only do so much. So, we're using the Dan Martell method, the 1-3-1. What's the one problem? What are the 3 possible solutions? And what's the one that you think is going to solve the problem the best? No one comes to me without a problem without that first. And then I either say, yeah, you made the right decision, or, hey, have you thought about this? This could help. And then they start to work it out. So that's been a big deal for me in the past year and a half.
You're empowering them to kind of, make, I think a lot of like employees rely and lean on other people to kind of make those decisions because they don't want to mess up, right? But you empower them to, hey, I'm paying you to do this. You can do it. I believe in you. I trust you. You can get it done, right? Go for it, right? I think it's natural for people to be scared of messing up, but allowing them to be able to do those things, it's great. So who was that? Dan what? And what was that called again?
Dan Martell, his book, Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good book.
We've had someone else on here in the past who's used the 1-3-1 method. That's really good.
Yeah. I think one of the big things on that is psychology. Like I wasn't great in school. I was a C student. And like if you would have told me, 30 years ago, hey, if you go into business, you're going to have to learn psychology, I'd be like, ugh, I'm not doing that, And I said I was unemployable, but I was a damn good framer before I went into entrepreneurship, right? So I am a good worker in that regard, but learning the psychology. So like I just had a meeting this morning with my team. We went into disc profile. We went into, which I've studied for a long time, but I haven't trained my team well enough on that. Like, why are you not just training your guys? So, I've been doing a lot of that, kind of like making the decisions. Well, you're an S personality. You are slow to make a decision. You're a high D personality. You're fast to make a decision. Maybe too fast, maybe too slow. Why don't we figure this out together? And so that's been really helpful too.
So you really are diving into these higher level leadership skills for your team. That's great. What's that personality test? Was Mike Garvey telling us about it, or was it Freddie Hodge?
Oh, that's Higher Bus. Higher Bus has like
Oh, that's right.
a quick test that will kind of,
Two tests.
and yeah. But the disc assessment, that's a great tool. It's well known.
Yeah.
Is that there's another one that's I don't know what it's called, but it breaks it down into colors.
Yeah, well, disc does colors. I mean, the charts that I see are colored. I understand Enneagram and disc, and that's what I train with and what I evaluate with. Those seem to work the best for me.
So when you had when you had cancer and you had to go through that, how did it change your mindset and your perspective on life and business, like with the work balance and stuff?
I'm definitely more calm, way more calm. And I think like it's going to work out. I don't stress out about stuff as much. I just know that it's, debilitating and it's life-threatening to stress too much. So, my high D personality, like, let's go, I'm a little bit more calm. So it seems like nothing is really as bad as, you think it is.
Right.
And so, I know some horrible things happen to really good people sometimes, but, we just have to take a deep breath and get through it.
How about physically? Have you started working out, eating better?
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you started doing after that?
Well, yeah, definitely. So I have my battles with that sometimes, but I do 75 hard once or twice a year. I'll do the David Goggins challenge and go do the 4x4x48. And so I'm, I could probably lose 10 or 15 pounds right now. But I think I definitely watch what I eat.
That 4x4x48. Do you enjoy that?
I do actually. I do put a spin on it. David Goggins would probably not approve of it.
What's the spin? Let's hear it.
Okay.
You use a bike.
Well, I know I do use a bike. My knees are shot, right?
Okay.
But he even said, he's like, if you can't run, walk. If you can ride a bike, ride a bike. But it's like, so every 4 hours you ride a bike for an hour, or every 4 hours you walk for an hour, or skateboard or whatever. You got to move for an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do use a bike, but what we'll do is we'll time it to where we're sunset at the beach. Then we drive straight to the mountains and we see these views. And so we make it, we've done it for 4 years. And every time we do it, we'll do like a theme. Like we went to the ocean, to the desert, to the mountains. We went to Arizona, Scottsdale, up and around, rode our bikes back through the rain and all this stuff. And this last year was kind of special because one of my buddies, who was my SAG guy who would drive us around, he crashed and he broke his back. So he couldn't be there for us that way, right? And he was in recovery. And then my other partner in success here, she crashed her bike and broke 10 ribs. So she was in bad recovery. So we weren't going to do it this last year. And this is the thing. This is that mental toughness. This is like, let's show up. Let's get it done. So I tried to talk my friend. I'm like, let's just not do it this year. And she said she wants to do it, but she couldn't ride a bike. She's like, let's walk it. And I'm like, I'll do it. So we walked it, and I'm emotional about this because the last leg she rode her bike. So we walked 26 miles over that time frame. You're waking up at 2 a.m. and walking for an hour, right? And so she rode her bike on the last leg, and we do it as a charity event too for our 501c3, which, don't get pissed at me, but we also rescue wildlife and have a wildlife sanctuary that we rescue animals. So we do it as a fundraiser, and that money goes to raccoons and bobcats and coyotes and foxes and birds and stuff. So, but it was an emotional time for us, Yeah.
Amazing. It really is. That's cool. Yeah, we believe that, we try and tell other businesses to always have something to give back to. When we had our business, we gave back to the Limelight Foundation, and we did something similar to what you did. We did a 4x4x48. We rode the Jersey coast. We rode the bike, our road bikes from Tippah, New Jersey to Cape May.
It's amazing.
And, physical challenges, mental, and at the end of the day, I think most of it is just kind of grinding and going, right? And that's life, right? You go through a traumatic situation that you went through. You got to put your shoes on. You got to, grind and get through those difficult times. And that's what, and then giving back to these different organizations, and it's something special. So that's really cool that you do that. Do you have something lined up every year that you do, or is it just kind of sporadically?
No, we've done it every year since he started it. But the reason I said Goggins would not approve of it, because he wants you to be tortured, right? He's like, get up and run out the door and just go. But we went from San Francisco down to Mexico. But we had the SAG guy. We would start on the Golden Gate Bridge and just started shooting down the coast, hauling ass down the coast. And then when our hour finished, we'd throw our bikes in the truck, hop in the truck, he'd drive for 3 hours, we'd pull or do it again. And we ended up not hitting Mexico. We headed inland towards home, but it was a fun ride. So that's what Goggins wouldn't like. He's like, don't you plan a sunset on the Golden Gate Bridge? Get your ass out there and be tortured, so we wanted to make it this like a Jesse Itzler kind of, a Sogio kind of event. Like,
Right, Jesse. It's like,
Yeah. So that's what Goggins wouldn't like. But yeah.
What happened to the guys that got training accidents? A car came out, gravel. What happened to those guys?
So the guy who broke his back, believe it or not, he rode the bike with us on the last leg too, because he's recovered as well. But he didn't crash on his bike. He has osteoporosis and something happened, and he had, I don't know, he fell and was like all jacked up. But he was in recovery too, and then he rode with us on the last leg. It was amazing.
This is a cool question. If I picked you up and moved you to New Jersey or a different market, what are the first 3 things you're going to do to kind of jumpstart your business?
And then they don't know who I am.
They don't know who you are.
I'd put on a teaching event. I would, because that's how I started it. I put on an event and said, hey, I'm going to be here. No one knew who I was. I'm like, I'm going to build a pond at a place that can be seen.
Showcase.
300. Yeah. It's a 365-day advertising piece at like a nursery where a lot of people come in. I would tap into their database, and I would say, hey, let me email your customers and I'll do this for free. And I'll make your place look beautiful, and I'll teach your customers how to do this in their own yard. And then when they do that, they're going to want to buy more plants. They're going to want to buy lawn furniture and statues, and it's going to help your business grow. They're going to want bird chimes and all that stuff. And so that'd be the first thing I do. And then I'd put on that event, hope to get 100 people there. And then a certain amount would want to buy product from me. And then everyone else would see how hard we work. And they'd be like, I'm not working that hard. Just how much would it cost for you to do it for me? That's how it started off.
Dude, that's gold, man.
Yeah. I mean, we started off giving away 100 free treatments. So it's pretty much like what you're saying.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
But being think about like a garden center, think about sickles or something like that, or, and then highlighting and building out this pond and showcasing. I think that's a great idea.
And now, Eric, you're also like, when you go to these conferences, everyone knows who you are.
A lot of people do. Well, sometimes I get into a conference that's a little outside my industry. So I went to Con Expo, like the construction expo in Las Vegas, and I ran into people I knew there, but not necessarily everyone. But yeah, when I go to the other ones, I'm either speaking from stage, they either read about me, or, I've been around long enough, they know.
How about back home?
What do you mean back home?
Like where you are now in California.
Oh, yeah. When I got into this, there was no pond guys in town. And in 2008, before the crash right there was like 50 pond contractors, but I was the one that started it. When I still go to the rock yard that I've been using for 30 years, they're like, Eric, I remember you started it all in our backyard. So yeah, they all know me.
How'd you navigate through COVID in 2019? I mean, that was a pretty tough year. And I'm sure that pond digger was not an essential business unless it was through the retail piece.
Very interesting. Well, so just so you know, I don't play that bullshit. I'm like, I didn't wear masks. I would just, I was killing grandmas and babies. Whatever you want to say. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't fall for any bullshit, and I just put my head down and I said, hey, I'm taking care of fish. I have essential. Like, there's fish in the pond, $100,000 worth of fish. They're going to die if I don't get there. And luckily for us, we just kept going. And our business was crazy in 2020. Like, it was insane. People that hadn't touched their pond in their backyard, they kind of fell out of love with it, hadn't touched it in 10 years. They were calling me, and we had a lot of work. And, I never got pulled over or stopped. I mean, California is freaking practically communist right now, but, we never got pulled over or anything. And if we did, I didn't have any essential paperwork. I didn't have any fake cards or any of that stuff. We just went to work, and we toughed it out.
These fish that you talk about, like I'm assuming most of them are like koi fish, and there's all different types of koi fish.
Yeah.
What is it other than the beauty that people love so much about them?
Part of the Japanese culture is amazing, where they represent peace, prosperity, elegance, serenity, tranquility. I mean, that's what fascinates me about fish. I mean, I can have a bad day and I can just go out to the pond and sprinkle some food in there and see the fishes glide across. They have different personalities. Some are more chill, some are more aggressive. And it can take you away. You know what I mean? It can just take your mind off of all that mess. Kids with autism can come to a pond and they're really having a hard time with life, and they get to the pond and they're just like locked, and they find peace in that pond. And so we've built lots of ponds for disabled families, and, retired people want to just relax and find that zen. Busy attorneys, they want to come home and, get away. So
And they live for a long time also, right? What's
yeah.
the lifespan?
Well, that's maybe speculated because you hear about the 220-year-old koi fish, but it's not uncommon for a koi to live 40 years. 25 to 40 in that range, not uncommon.
And
Under
the
good
bigger
condition.
the bigger they grow.
They can grow actually pretty big in small pond. That's a myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but big ponds do help for sure.
AI. Do you fool around with it?
I do.
How do you utilize it?
It's fun to do emails, because when we do a marketing piece on an email, I'm like, I did this a couple years ago. Like when it first came out, I'm like, hey, write me a marketing piece to my customers as a leprechaun, and that the pond is important to them. And I just talked to the thing, and they really cute stuff, so creative and different. I believe it's not a cheat tool. I really believe it helps me express my creativity, because like what's in my mind, it's hard for me to articulate into a letter. Before AI, I can write pretty good, but it might take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to really articulate a really great piece of the puzzle. But I can do it in moments now because I talk to it and dump my feelings. And then, this is my attitude. I tell them my well-being, like who I am at the moment. And then it just expresses it for me quickly. I change it a little bit, put in the Triplett flair.
What's your AI voice? Is it a British guy, or is it
I actually don't have it talk back to me yet. I just talk to it and then I take the document and put it. But I'd probably have a Russian woman, a woman with a Russian accent, or maybe Bulgarian or something. I don't know.
If I followed you around for a week, what would I learn about you?
I do a lot. I mean, I'm moving in all the directions. You would find out I'm very generous and I want to help people. You'd find out I like drinking whiskey and beer. You would find out I'm the person I say I am. I really am. And I think if you talked to my employees and you would see how my employees interact with me, you would know that I'm the real deal.
You're probably right. I mean, how many years have you been in business?
25, 30, somewhere in that range. To stop counting after 25 or until it gets over 30.
And you've been successful and you continue to grow. You got these awesome goals. What else we got for Eric, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think we touched upon it all.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Eric, you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm just real grateful you guys reached out to me. I think our podcast community is tight, and it's really cool that, Jonas and Mike Garvey and, we're just going to continue to grow. And every time we have a communication talk like this, we find out that we're connected in another way. And I think it's really cool. I appreciate it.
I remember what it was. What's the strategy for you after 25 to 30 years of business? Is there an exit strategy for someone in your position in this type of business? Is this a business that can be sold off down the road, or is this a legacy business that you hold on to for another 15, 20 years? What do you think about that?
It's a really great question. Maybe my favorite one so far. And going to that vulnerability part of who I am, I know today, after my ups and downs, that my legacy lies in getting the goals of my staff in place. And if I think back and reflect on my business, I lost people for that exact reason. Like I couldn't take them to their next level. My dream wasn't big enough to have their dream fit under my umbrella. And that hits me really hard when you lose someone for 10 years because they want to go do something different, because I can't help them anymore. So for me, currently as the business stands, I wouldn't be able to sell it unless, I had a couple dynamic guys on the team and I'm like, you guys are going to take it over. I'm going to sell it to you. You're going to pay me. And I'd really have to be involved in that with my new philosophy and mindset and the teamwork from the Dawsons. And I feel like I want to take it to a spot where I can sell it for a lot of money, have an exit strategy if I want. And I've always thought, well, what would I do? But I could just do wildlife rehabilitation, and be really happy with that for the rest of my life, because there's going to be ponds in that as well. So my goal now is to just grow the business that big and fulfill all the, like, bro, this is heavy. And I know this is toward the end of the interview, but I tell people all the time, contractors that I talk to, they're like, I can't find good help and but a lot of people have given up on their own dreams to come in and fulfill your dream and work their ass off for you every day to fulfill their dream. And I know that's true. I have had football players that didn't make it. They come to work for me. I've had guys who want to be professional golfers. They don't make it. They give up their dream. They come work for me, and on and on and on. And so I am honoring that at the highest level. Like, what are your new dreams? You didn't become a football player. What do we do now? I've helped firefighters come through here. They're like, I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. I'm like, sick. How long is it going to take? Well, probably 2-3 years. I'm like, you want to go at it for 3 years with me and we'll figure it out. I'll help you. You need time off. You want to go do your stuff. I'll make it happen. And so I've helped firefighters, law enforcement come through my business, and now they're living their dream, but they helped me with mine along the way. So I'm really focused on that.
That's incredible. And it's impactful because, again, the more you care about them, the more they're going to do for you, right? The more you respect them, the more that they're going to, care about your business. And I often say this, and I say it a lot. You love your employees, you love your community, you love your customers, and they're going to love you back. And it truly sounds that that's what you're doing. You're doing something that you're passionate about, something that you love. So that's why it's probably not, I want to say easy, but it's easier for you to be involved in this business for how many years you've been involved in it. I loved in our business in pest control. I didn't necessarily love pest control, right? I liked helping people. I liked helping the customers, but I liked building a team and taking care of that family. But I don't think it was the same as with what you're doing in terms of like giving these guys these beautiful backyards and creating these moments with the fish and the aquariums and everything else that you're doing. I think it allows you to stick around a little bit longer because you're more passionate about it. So that's great. And the fact that, just by listening to you, it truly sounds that your employees are in great hands working underneath you and that you're working diligently and hard to create more opportunities for them as you build out that business.
Yeah. Dude, people, when I finish doing work, people cry. Like when's the last time you sprayed some, pest control stuff and they come out crying to you? You know what I mean? It doesn't happen when you build a roof. It doesn't happen when you plant grass or paint their house. You build a beautiful ecosystem, that oasis in their backyard, and grown men are crying. There's something really special about that like I have to pinch myself. I literally get paid to do this. This is not normal.
Yeah.
This is not normal.
That's great. And it's cool that you get to the perspectives there and that you realize that. So congratulations. Eric, thanks so much, man, for your time, spending time with us on the Boardroom Buzz and give us an hour. And I'm sure a lot of people get some good feedback out of this, get some nugget and some really good advice.
Yeah, Eric, thank you very much. Eric, why don't you tell listeners where they can find you?
At the Pond Digger, pretty much everywhere we go. Even if you look up at the Pond Digger, you'll see my podcast pop up, but it says The Deep End with Eric Triplett now. And Facebook, all those places, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Meta.
Awesome.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.